right, hello. My name is Keaton, and I'm going to be talking about my journey through IVF. Okay, so I would say if you're having infertility issues, then this would be for you. And if you're a little fertile myrtle, then it wouldn't. But I think that everybody can gain some insight from seeing, what other people go through. So I think anybody could watch this and learn something or develop a little bit of empathy for those who maybe do need some type of scientific interventions in order to get and maintain pregnancy. So I guess, yeah, I'll start. So, I guess just some of the background, the demographics. I have been pregnant 3 times. Only one resulted in a birth. So that would be my first pregnancy. And my little boy is, well, he's not so little no more. He's taller than me, but he's 12. And he's a big man, but that was in 2006 is when I had him. And then I got pregnant again in 2007, and it was ectopic. Well, actually, that was in 2007 because I went to basic 2007. So it was the beginning of 2008. So 2008, I got pregnant again, and however, it was ectopic. So, like I said, I was in basic training, and we had Christmas Exodus. So basically, I left on Christmas Exodus, came back pregnant. When they gave us our pregnancy test, it was like right when we came back from Christmas Exodus. So of course, it wouldn't have shown up then. But I'm not gonna lie and say that towards the end of basic, I thought that I was pregnant, but it was just one of those things of no, I'll just deal with that once I get to, AIT, because I don't want to be a medical holdover and have to stay in basic training longer. So needless to say, I made it to the last week of basic training. At this point, I think I knew for like maybe 3 weeks that I was pregnant. I made it to the last week, and then it was just like horrible, like increasingly getting worse cramps. And once I think it was the day that we were supposed to be practicing for graduation, and we were supposed to be going to the field, and I couldn't get up. Like, I was doubled over in pain. Every step that I took was painful, and at this point I'm just like, okay, something is totally wrong, because in the beginning I was in denial, like, oh, maybe my first pregnancy was like, you know just no problems, but cramping is normal type deal. But not this. This wasn't normal. So when I went in, long story short, they did the pregnancy test. They told me I was pregnant. And then when they did the ultrasound, a tech did the ultrasound, and then they brought another tech in to do the ultrasound, and then they brought the radiologist in, and or doctor. I don't know which one it was, but either way, they still didn't tell me that it was ectopic or whatever. They just said that they would have to transfer me from on post to the civilian hospital in Columbia. So last thing I remember was like going over railroad tracks, and I passed out from the pain. And then I woke up and I was told that I was pregnant. It was ectopic. It ruptured. So when it ruptured, basically I could have died because of the internal bleeding. I laugh, but it's just kind of humorous now that my only concern was like not telling anybody that I was pregnant because I wanted to graduate basic when literally my life was on the line. But whatever, I'm here. But anyway, so after they told me that I was pregnant and it ruptured, and all that stuff or whatever, I never really asked any questions about, the surgery or anything like that. Mind you, I think I was 22. I was 22. And I never really asked any questions about, the surgery. All I know is that it ruptured. They had to do surgery. So let's fast forward to I got divorced from my first husband, and then I married my husband that I have now, and we want to have kids, right? So we want to have kids, and it's just not happening. Like, we're trying for a year and nothing happens. So I go to go get a workup, and when they do the fertility workup, all of my hormones levels are good. And then they do this HSG. Don't get me to lying about what it stands for, because it's a really long name. But basically, you go in and they put a dye inside of your uterus, and they fill it up, and then if it spills out into the tubes, then that means that your tubes aren't blocked, or the other way around. Basically, go through the tubes. If it goes all the way through, they're not blocked. So that's when I found out that I only had one tube for one, because when it ruptured, they end up, it ruptured, they can't fix that. So they took it. So that's when I found out I only had one tube, and then that tube was blocked. So I went in and I had surgery to unblock that tube. And then after they unblocked the tube, it was just like kind of pointless. I was like, okay, well, this really didn't do anything. And then so we started looking into IVF like back then, but just seeing really how expensive it was. And it just seems like it wasn't in our grasp to do. So I never really went further than going and doing a consultation and seeing what the success rates would be and all of that. So 2000 and was that 15? 2015? Yes, 2015. Nope. 16. 2016. Pop up pregnant. So it was just like, woo, yay. I did it finally. So from the time that I did the tubal surgery to unblock it was 2011. So basically roughly about 4 or 5 years it took me to, get pregnant. And at this point, we weren't trying because I just felt like it wasn't going to happen. So this was like totally a surprise. But at the same time, it was a very positive surprise because I'm like, oh, this is pretty dope. Like, I guess when you stop stressing over it, stuff just happens, woo. So anyway, go in, long story short, it's ectopic as well. So I thought what was so like frustrating with that experience was that when I go in to have the ultrasound, because basically going through the surgeries and everything for my tube, they told me that, if I ever was to get pregnant, then it's sort of like an emergency. I need to go and have an ultrasound like immediately, just I guess to make sure that it's not ectopic again. So when I go in to have this ultrasound, they're like, oh, they can't see anything in my uterus. Nothing. And they said at the stage of where my HCG levels were, I should have already had the gestational sac and the fetal pole. So I'm like, okay, well, that didn't, but who's to say? I'm still holding on to, hope. Maybe he or she is like a slow developer and it's going to come. So they did see a sac in my uterus, but there was nothing in it. Like the fetal pole wasn't there or anything. So what they told me was that sometimes you can have, with an ectopic pregnancy, you can have a pseudo-sac. So I'm like, okay, I've never heard of a pseudo-sac before. So I go home because that's what I do. When someone tells me something, I go and I research it to high heavens. So I research a pseudo-sac and ectopic pregnancies, and this is what I find out. Well, basically, you have a 2% chance of having an ectopic pregnancy, right? And when there's only like a 10 to 15% chance that you'll get pregnant any given month anyway. But out of that 10 to 15% chance, 2% of that is going to be ectopic. And then 2% of that 2% will be ectopic with a pseudo-sac. And guess what the fuck I was? I was that 2% of that 10 to 15%, and then 2% of that. Because it was definitely ectopic, and it definitely came with the pseudo-sac. So I went in and I just had what they could have done. I could have taken the pills to stop the growth. But me personally, I had just enough of that because it got me like, in the gist of me looking for the pseudo-sac and stuff like that, the percentages of ectopics. So basically, me already having an ectopic pregnancy, already my chances were raised with that. And then also having surgery or any kind of manipulation of the tube gives you an increased chance. So basically, I had like a 50% chance of having ectopic. So I didn't want to go through that again. So instead of taking the pill, I just had them remove the tube all the way so that it kind of like really just said, hey, girl, you will never in life get pregnant naturally ever again. But it saved me the heartache that if I know if I'm pregnant, I won't have the fear that it's in my tube and then have to go through that devastation all over again. So I guess that brings me to the present, in which we finally decided that this is something that we really want to do, and we're going to actively like work towards that. So I'm actually in Arizona right now, and I see reproductive health in Tucson, and Dr. Hutchison is awesome, and their staff. But anyway, so I started the stimulation process for the retrieval last Sunday. So 7 days. Today is 7 days, and no, 6, because today is Saturday. No, today is Sunday. I'm on day 7. So the first 6 days that I go, well, actually, before I started, I went to, had an appointment, and they checked my estradiol levels, and then also an ultrasound, so that we can see, like, what my uterus is looking like, making sure that's all normal, and then looking at my ovaries. Oh, update, I only have one. So when the first one ruptured, they took the ovary and the tube. So I only have one ovary. So I'm kind of working with a little, I'm already behind the power curve, I guess. I don't know, but you only need one healthy one, so that's what I'm banking on. So anyway, so after we did that, and I got the go ahead and start the process based off of how everything looked, then I started doing the hormones. And then, hold on, I'll go downstairs because it's about time for me to start my shots anyway. So I need to, one of them needs to come out and come to room temp. So, hello guys. I will say, where's the light? I will say that this was like the most nerve-wracking portion for me, because shots are not my thing. So for me, you can draw my blood all day long. You can give me an IV. Like, all of that is fine and dandy. Like, taking stuff out, I don't have a problem with. When you decide that you want to put something back in, that's where my anxiety like goes through the roof. So for me, it was like super duper important for me to find someone who could do it for me, because I know they teach you how to do it to yourself, but yeah, I'm talking to myself. Shut up. They teach you how to do it yourself, but that's not for me. I know that me personally, I would never be able to do it. So, what I'm taking right now, hold on, let me turn. Don't know how. So, taking Gyno F, and since it is my day 7, the protocols change. But since in the beginning of mine, my eggs weren't growing as fast, then my starting the cetrotide, that the one that stops me from ovulating before they can actually retrieve the eggs, got pushed back a day. So I'm starting this one today as well. Whew. So I think that's the most nerve-wracking portion for me, is the taking the shots, and then it's like, you don't get like immediate feedback. So it's like I take the shots, and so far my appointments have been every 5th day. So I started with the Gyno F, and then I'll go in, because the Gyno F is the one that actually has the hormones in it, and it's pushing you to go ahead and, hey, ovaries, do your thing, shoot them out type deal. So that one, but like I said, my estradiol, like that number was good, but my follicles, they weren't as big as they should have been in order for me to start the cetrotide, which I should have started yesterday if I was going to be on just the generic protocol. But everybody is different. And what I was told was, don't really judge basically your numbers or the number of follicles that you have or their growth process, because everybody is different. Well, we already know that, but I think that was the major part for me, was going online every time I would get like the results, and then check and see how many other people had a good result using these same numbers type deal, because I'm like a proof is in the pudding type person. So that's why I say that the team there are very, Jalen, what can I do for you?
You're literally explaining what you're going to do to yourself.
Okay,
so
what?
To yourself so you can remember in 10 years?
No, I'm starting the blog. You don't want me to document? I talked about you in the beginning. Everybody, come here. Come here, Jalen. Come here now. Come here. sit down. Hey, big head. This is my Sunny Bunny. Say hi. Get out of here. Goodbye.